even Trump himself, came out with a statement saying, let's divide the territory. It doesn't seem like this is the direction that these negotiations are going to go for. Do you think there will be concessions, specifically from the Ukrainian side, or will this ceasefire negotiation, fall apart?
Well, the problem is that how interconnectedness of this war affects both NATO, Europe, and on whole global power dynamic. And while we are looking at this as a more regional conflict, actually there's a global realignment of power affecting NATO, affecting EU, and it's really have a very broad international relations, including the strengthening of the Russia on the global scene, not because of the Russia itself. It's because of the lack of stability when it's and the straight line when it comes to the policy and the approach to global position of United States. Let's not forget that now it's not about the war itself. For Trump and for United States, as we can see in US aid, and we can see withdrawing money from UNHCR, it's about America first.
Yes.
And we are just putting all those contacts on those conflicts, on those initiatives, which are quite good, we're really comprehensive, but they are dividing money from helping abroad, for helping globally, to focus on their own case, actually. That's the reason why it's going to be really difficult.
Since you're talking about America first and stuff, let's talk to Dr. Olga and ask her more about the idea of the negotiations and the idea that the U.S. is pushing towards, a deal that will benefit the U.S., not necessarily, the Ukraine. But also, to create this deal, Moscow must approve the deal itself. What kind of red lines does the Moscow regime have when it comes to these negotiations? What will stop it completely or halt it from happening, especially, given the climate, the geopolitical climate right now?
Like I said, Russia was mentioning some certain conditions which will not be accepted. It is the deployment of foreign military troops on the territory of Ukraine, or which is left of Ukraine. So it's a neutral status for Ukraine. Should be on the agenda. And the total demilitarization of Ukraine. But what is important here? So diplomacy in its traditional understanding, so it is not something what comes first. It's something what comes second after some military enforcement. And we need to look what is happening in the battlefield, because it is something what strengthens the position of negotiating parts. And in this case, we see Russia has already won this military conflict, and it's not just to come to an end, but just to move even further. So and in this case, looking what is happening on the battlefield and looking at the capacity of Russian military forces and Russian economic capacity, this is something what leads us to the question, so how diplomatic negotiations will follow. So definitely diplomacy comes second from the position of strength as a result of the battlefield operations.
Okay, Dr. Kamila, with the increased risk of energy infrastructure attacks, like the one we've seen in Sochi, how can the EU bolster its energy security while still maintaining a unified stance when it comes to, this conflict?
Yes, that's a very good question, and it's the question which actually is shedding a good night's sleep from the eyes of many in Europe. And strangely and funnily enough, the answer is actually Gulf state, and as well the global cooperation. We cannot rely only, first of all, European countries, especially European Union and Germany especially, had made a significant mistake relying too much on Russia when it comes to the gas supplies. It's a long-term, and it was long-term mistake that actually created a very difficult situation for the economics of European Union and European countries, but as well globally. That's the reason why its involvement and cooperation with the Gulf states came extremely handy. And this is actually something which strengthened as well position of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, as well as the
negotiators.
talk